break down my process for the Impossible Project. I ended up settling on like a podcast with a historical figure. And this is me and the AI kind of just breaking some stuff down about how we're gonna do it, the process. Um, you know, just random stuff. I won't make you read all of it because it's not that interesting. This is some sample questions that I could ask the AI that's going to be pretending to be Winston Churchill. Here's a test question that the AI responded to, and then we kind of go through like the basically the whole interview from here. And then after that, we made a title screen using AI called the Impossible Podcast. Did a way better job than I thought it did, but I needed it in landscape mode. It kind of messed up the S's there. So I made it fix that for me. And from there, we had to go and find AI voiceovers, which was a lot harder to do than I thought it was going to be because most of this stuff costs money, or it's really hard to use. I ended up settling with this. I made one big voiceover um, for ease of saving it, and then brought it over into the video editor um, from basically where I made the whole thing using the title screen, um, and just kind of built it in from there. So it's pretty interesting. I hope you enjoy it. We can jump right into it. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Impossible Podcast. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon in the middle of October here, and I have with us a very special guest, Winston Churchill, back from the dead. Don't ask me how, but he's back, and we're going to interview him, and we're going to pick his brain for a little bit. Winston, it's like I said, it's awesome to have you here. Now that you've been back, what is the biggest difference that you've seen between British culture in the 40s and 30s, and between now and with it being in America?
Well, it's a peculiar sensation indeed. British culture of my time was deeply rooted in tradition, formality, and, how shall I put it, stiff upper lips. Today, I find American culture rather more informal. There seems to be a great deal more enthusiasm for everything, whether it be in speech, dress, or even one's morning coffee order. The sheer size of a venti left me rather speechless. Back in my day, British society prided itself on understatement, whereas Americans now appear to have a knack for turning everything into a grand spectacle. Even casual conversations can feel like theatre. It's all very lively, I must admit, but I do sometimes long for the measured conversations over a cup of tea and a good cigar.
That's awesome, and I think that'll lead me into the next question. Of obviously your reputation is you love your cigars, you love your alcohol, and has there been anything that you've had since you've been back that has kind of piqued your attention?
My fondness for cigars and a good drink is well known, isn't it? I must say, I've had the chance to sample a few things since my return. The cigars, I'm afraid, leave something to be desired, far too mild for my taste. As for alcohol, well, I was offered something called a White Claw, which I found rather perplexing. It's as if someone thought to mix water and a faint memory of fruit. I promptly declined the second. But I did try a drink called an old-fashioned, which I found to be quite agreeable, though I did request a bit more whiskey and a bit less ceremony. It seems the cocktails today have far more flourish than spirit.
All right, and I want to ask you the big question that probably a lot of people are wondering is, have you touched a smartphone yet? Have you seen one?
The smartphone, a curious little contraption. I was handed one shortly after my return, and I must confess it was rather bewildering at first. It seems to be an entire library, a telegraph office, and a photographer's studio all crammed into one tiny device. Quite remarkable, though it feels somewhat undignified to poke at it with one's finger, like prodding a particularly stubborn beast. The messaging aspect is intriguing. I've sent a few texts, as they call them, though I must admit my attempts were not without mishap. I once meant to type splendid, but the infernal thing suggested spleen, which gave entirely the wrong impression. And don't even get me started on autocorrect, a tool that seems determined to undermine any effort at eloquence. Still, I've come to appreciate the efficiency. One can summon information, converse with people across the globe, and even play a few games of chess, though I must say, there's nothing quite like the satisfaction of moving a physical piece across the board.
I can't imagine how big of an adjustment it's been for you living in this age of technology. And with technology advancements comes, ease of access to information. So I want to talk about the media. Obviously, with television and social media making information accessible basically 24/7, how do you think that changes kind of the landscape of politics? And how do you see this massive exchange of information do you see it as a good thing, or do you see it as posing a risk, due to misinformation or something like that?
Now that is a fascinating development. The sheer speed at which information travels today is nothing short of astonishing. In my time, one had to wait for the morning papers or the wireless broadcast to understand the pulse of the world. Now, it seems every event, whether monumental or trivial, can be known to millions in the blink of an eye. Quite extraordinary. Beauty with this instant access comes the rather dangerous double-edged sword, as you've rightly pointed out. The benefit, of course, is the democratization of information. People are more informed, more engaged. Everyone has a voice. In theory, it should lead to a more enlightened populace, more accountability in leadership. Yet, therein lies the risk: misinformation. The very speed that brings knowledge also brings folly and falsehood. In my day, it was easy to refute an incorrect statement in a newspaper or a parliamentary debate. Today, it seems that rumours and half-truths can spread like wildfire before the truth has even put its boots on. The challenge for politicians in this era is not merely to lead, but to navigate this constant barrage of information and ensure that facts, not fantasies, guide the public's discourse. I fear that in this world of clickbait, as they call it, substance may too often give way to sensationalism. Leaders must work harder than ever to cut through the noise and speak with clarity and conviction. While this explosion of media can certainly be a powerful tool, it also demands great responsibility, not just from those in power, but from the people themselves. In the end, the strength of any democracy lies in an informed and thoughtful citizenry.
All right, Winston, this has been incredibly eye-opening. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I just want to thank you for coming. And I want to tell anybody listening, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much.